Pink Gear is one heck of a mysterious game. Well archived online, but it's hard to find concrete info about its development or its creator, Masami Ishimaru.
Well, okay, not that hard, but I'm too late into making this video to look through Mac magazines.
No text guides, though there is a fully subtitled playthrough on YouTube, conveniently enough. There is a bit of a legacy Pink Gear fits into. The PC and Mac saw a wide variety of enigmatic releases from more independent Japanese adventure game developers in the late 90s, the likes of L-Zone, Zedas, and the infamous Cookies Butt. Wait, huh? I could have sworn there was an exhibit here. My memory must be playing tricks on me. Pink Gear slots in clean among these, published by the big guys behind most of them, Toshiba Emi. Certainly a distinct one, it bears some in common with the older, more well-known Gadget, primarily in its odd storytelling and cold industrial art style. That's basically where the similarities end, though. Running Pink Gear Collection is a puzzle all its own. You're gonna need some familiarity with VMs. My first attempt at playing it was on PCM through my, Japanese Windows 98 install, and it mostly ran fine there. Until I got to the crashes. They come randomly, without warning, without consistency. Usually upon opening the inventory, but it was a frequent enough problem I didn't want to risk it happening at even worse times. Thankfully, it's a Macromedia Director game, and a hybrid disc, so I shifted my efforts elsewhere. Mac emulation via Basilisk 2 isn't perfect. I had some random audio cutouts that stuck through the rest of the session. And for a game as audio-based as this, that's more than a small inconvenience. It's more stable than PCM overall, though, and I had less audio issues than with Sheepshaver. There's a chance you might be able to run this on Scum VM in the future. They've been working on Director emulation recently, but right now, it's no dice. Game has rendering issues and can't get past this initial copy protection screen telling you to insert your CD. Here's to hoping everyone can enjoy Pink Gear together at the Scum Bar sooner than later. I won't be burrowing through the whole game in this video. Unlike some prior games I've done full explorations of, this one is relatively accessible, requires minimal Japanese reading ability, and also is fun to play. When we get to spoilers, I'll mark them in case you want to experience Pink Gear's deeper secrets yourself. As one loads into Pink Gear, its quiet and mysterious world phases into existence before your very eyes. A vast, flat landscape stretches out into pitch darkness, until it fills itself out with strange objects and scenery. Oh, and the leaves. Can't forget the leaves. Popping open the green box and leafing through the papers, we find an introductory letter asking us a few questions, our name, and whether we've been here before. This is your new game load game. Once you've answered these, if you're starting a new game, you move on to this curious little device. Which lets you set your audio volume. I guess it should be obvious given the large ears. And finally, last but not least, move over to the tree. Here we meet our new partner in crime, Baggish. He'll always be by our side, though we won't always see him. We'll have to press Command plus B to pop him open. Little guy's our inventory. We put stuff in him, and we take stuff out. He's even courteous enough to carry our cash. We can't always summon him, though. He'll be limited off certain screens. Before fading away, he mentions one more important thing. He's not the only one here who can't always be seen. We're invisible, too. Once you hit border, Pink Gear opens for real. It acts as your main menu and leads you into the main hub. All you gotta do here is flip the switch. In true Myst-like fashion, there's no actual limitations on where we can go or when. It's all a matter of knowing the world and its secrets. Helping you along and figuring them out are the residents of the Pink Gear world. You can strike up short conversations with them, and they'll provide hints that are shockingly less cryptic than you might expect. They pretty plainly state what mechanics you'll want to know about and how to reach whatever areas you haven't found, and sometimes remind you of important hints for progression you might have forgotten that would be too inconvenient to backtrack for. The major areas of Pink Gear are primarily accessed via passage. The passages here stretch on forever, down into absolute eternity. Go too far down any of its 3 branches, and it'll take as long to head back to the start. Its creeping, shadowy depths make for one of the game's spookiest and most memorable bits of visual design. I feel like if this game was more famous, you'd be seeing people making Gmod liminal map recreations of this place. Your main objective in Pink Gear is to explore all the different branches of its world through here. Find the jigsaw pieces hidden in each and put them together to access the final zone, Birth. We can always see it right from over here, but we can never reach it with the drawbridge up like this. The game is never secretive about what locations have jigsaw pieces hidden within them, so you always have a clear goal and a clear idea of where to explore next, giving it a pretty nice sense of momentum, similar to finding the pages in each age of Myst. Take, for example, the very first area you're directed to, Guitar. No big puzzles here, just a weird little band hall area used to introduce the game's whole structure and vibe. You get this little guitar terminal to mess around with. And with any of the songs on, you can now go talk with this guitar guy's little buddy, Pick. Like the others, he'll give you some simple early game tips until he starts to wind back down. Take his advice to go find the little guy backstage here. Bam. First puzzle piece. And that sets the Pink Gear pace. Find a new weird place, dig through it, solve its puzzles, and grab the puzzle piece at the end. I'm just now realizing I refer to them as puzzle pieces and jigsaws throughout this whole script, but they're actually just shards of glass. You'll have to bear with me on that one. I think I was thinking too much about Banjo-Kazooie for some reason. You'll do it 5 more times at varying levels of complexity, but like I said, there's no order enforced here. If you know any navigation puzzle solutions, you can totally just head to one of the areas you'd normally only get directed to later in the game, right from the start. Really lends to Pink Gear's relaxing, wandery vibes. And again, like Myst, you'll still be allowed to pop your head into a variety of areas before you even know what to do with them. Big fan of Station 1. The weird-looking giant toy bullet train, the faint pink haze. Even though you probably won't be able to do anything here the first time you find it, it just feels cool to be here. I'll admit, I used to be more into LucasArts stuff, where you've got your little guy wandering around, messing with other little guys.
This view defines true beauty. I'm not putting my lips on that.
Barring that, I just preferred having first-person games give you free movement. Having to click around to move with hard locks and your ability to look around an essentially static world seemed pretty constricting, claustrophobic. But seeing stuff like Gadget and Pink Gear for the first time really made me interested in checking out games like Myst. Really opened my eyes to just what sort of atmosphere a game can evoke with effectively just being a bunch of cool PNG files. And now I really love it. It feels less like being constricted in static worlds when you dive in, and more like games using static methods of conveyance to paint worlds that feel shockingly real and alive. A bit of a meeting of both ends of the uncanny valley. I really love what you can do with adventure games when you think about their presentation like this. I mean, hell, what other game lets you do this crap? And Pink Gear absolutely leans into that. I mean, the game is a whole optional gambling arcade. Nothing here you even need to interact with either. The whole currency system is basically fake. Just has slots and cow carriage, race betting. All for the heck of it. It's almost there more to soak up the vibes of the arcade itself than for anything else. Crazy amount of detail for something you can pass right over. Really, lots of details like that in general. Like the inventory system. First time I saw it, I got worried about if this game was gonna have the mashing two doodads together to make a bigger, weirder doodad. If I'd end up getting tired of all the slow, spinny, and fuzzy animations you have to sit through opening, cycling, and closing it. But nah, you barely even use this system. It matters for like 3 puzzles. I mean, you want to talk pointless fun, that's just there for the heck of it. Look at the whole racing QTE minigame. It takes a whole process to find it, and it, once again, is just there to be something to have fun with for a couple minutes. And when it does come to solving the actual puzzles, they're pretty good. Maybe a bit easier than Myst's, honestly. Pink Gear really is never tough enough to keep you stuck for too long. It scratches the exact itch I'd want from this kind of game. That whole feeling of going from room to room, finding little environmental puzzles that intersect and interconnect with the world around them, where it really feels like the world itself is worked into and part of the puzzling, rewarded for paying attention in one sense with hints to solve whatever quandary you're being faced with, and in another with getting to spend more time seeing the game's strange sights. You've got a decent variety of ways you interface with its worlds, and as such, a variety of ways its world interfaces with you. It all feels natural, smooth, varied and fun. Everything works back into itself like clockwork, and you're the one getting to pull all the levers and twist all the dials. And that structure really does lean extra Myst-y, despite its world being a bit more labyrinthine than those magical islands. It does take heavy notes from how contained Myst was. No riven animal noise or marble puzzles here, nothing that's gonna make you do an epic trek across the world taking notes. In almost every case, all the info you need to solve whatever problem you've got are right next to where you need them. The one instance where a big puzzle relies on info from somewhere else, the game's nice enough to remind you next to the puzzle interface itself in case you forget. Like I said, very chill, very forgiving. The one thing that I think is pretty likely to stump people is... I guess I should spoiler this. Okay, I'll be talking about a couple of the bigger puzzles in the game and the game's ending as a whole, so if you want to jump ahead and uncover Pink Gear's secrets for yourself, whether through watching that video playthrough or setting it up on Basilisk 2 and playing it yourself, here's a timestamp. Most puzzles in Pink Gear that are, fully structured puzzles and not just little exploration deals you solve through hints the game rewards you with come down to pretty simple pattern recognition. Once you understand that, you'll have an easier time getting through them. Like, there's this whole labyrinth area you access by playing this tune on this piano dude here, Pianoli. The labyrinth itself is nuts. Floor, walls, ceiling, everything's this chaotic jumble of piano keys. Every step you take, every move you make, it all mashes together into this chaotic sound of jumbled keys. But once you hit the other side of this labyrinth, you run into... I wonder if Pianoli speaks with his grandpappy often. Pretty imposing guy. So, of course, you try playing that same tune. But wait a sec. Pianoli's tune was only 6 notes. Grand Pianoli needs 9. Where are we gonna figure out the last few notes? Don't tell me I gotta become a penguin again. Well, think back to that labyrinth. All those doors, every time you opened one, it played this whole jumble of keys. Except for one. Yeah, baby. We're in business. I love this puzzle. Figuring it out was a lot of fun, but it's also entirely sound-based, so I imagine it'll pose a problem for some people. Bit of a shame, because I actually don't know how you could really work a visual element in. But at least here, I think the core puzzle is a neat and intuitive enough idea that I'm willing to give it props. The one that'll probably be more divisive is, the matching game. That rule about puzzles being patterns is stronger than ever here. Your first time tangoing with this one, it's gonna feel ridiculously unfair. You have to match every single panel, mess up just once, and all the panels you flipped will unflip. To make matters worse, if you mess up 3 times, the whole thing resets. So you're telling me I not only can't mess up, but if I mess up too many times, you'll re-scramble the whole board? Yeah, I felt like this thing was going to be a game ender for a second. But there is a trick. You might have noticed, and if you're playing, you will notice after long enough. It doesn't scramble the board. 3 mistakes and you reset, but it doesn't change the arrangement yet. I don't know if I can say with confidence that it's every 3 attempts, but it feels like it. Each matching game board has 3 templates, and on every 3-ish attempts, it'll swap from one to the next. Good, okay, now we've nailed down a pattern, there's some consistency. Once you understand this, all you need to do is figure out the tells for which template you're on, then note down every placement of every sound pairing on that template. From here, you can solve this thing with ease. I'm more mixed on this puzzle. Solving it is a bit fun, in an outsmarting a cruel and unfair game sort of way. but I can very easily see someone just getting frustrated with it, especially if, as mentioned, they have hearing issues. And unlike Grand Pianoli, this one doesn't integrate the world in a very fun way. With every other puzzle in Pink Gear, you could very potentially just stumble into the solution while exploring. This is the one that really forces you to game it a bit. Otherwise, puzzles in Pink Gear lean pretty easy. Fun, but simple. These are basically the only ones I could see someone potentially getting stuck on. From here, I want to show off the ending. So again, if you'd rather jump through the hoops of playing the game yourself to see it yourself, then skip over here. Otherwise, it's time to have a little talk about birth. By this point, the end of Pink Gear, you've fully explored every branch of the Pink Gear world, met every single resident of its metallic corridors, listened to a saxophone solo from a funny little mouse. Look at him go. Funny, helpful little guys, though they all had this ominous little thing they said about how they'll meet us again soon. But hey, I'm sure it's nothing too ominous, right? Right? Now we've got all the puzzle pieces assembled. Let's just head on home and stop for a quick save? Something is different in the border now. You're no longer allowed to freely pass back and forth through its halls. If we try to strike up conversation with our little friends again, they'll have little of clear meaning to say to us. Try to talk to them again after that, and it's like we can't even understand their words anymore. Or maybe like they're not even trying to talk to us now. Even the keys on old Pianoli, they don't make the same sounds anymore. With no other options, we simply have to place the puzzle pieces on the board. And activate the machine. The drawbridge is lowered. It's time to reach birth. As we cross over the bridge and enter into the building, we see an automaton bearing a giant leaf. It speaks. red-headed man calls himself. Pierochikal Elixa? I have no idea how to Romanize this. He tells us to think of him as a part of Pink Gear given physical form, a mouthpiece for the great consciousness, Pink Gear. He asks us if this machine that was created for us is to our liking. We are to become this machine, and as such, become a part of the structure of Pink Gear, assisting in further development. We're given a choice about whether we wish to enter the box. Of course, if you say no, he just stuffs you inside anyway. We don't really have a choice. All we can do is sit and let the bureaucracy of this strange mechanical world go about its regular business, deciding on what's best done with our life. Our fate places us in game. We will be Leafly 15,684. We're only one piece of the world, but still we aid in making it more perfect. Well, today's featured exhibit sure turned out unusual. Quite interpretive art. Maybe you could even say it says something about society. There are two other endings, but apparently they're largely the same. I got the same one that the complete video playthrough got, entirely on accident, so I guess if you end up playing yourself, you could check those out. And it's all decided by this one funny little machine here, so just pick whichever the two I didn't, and enjoy your slightly more unique, less seen Pink Gear conclusion. There is a sequel, released about 3 years later, Pink Gear 2. I haven't tried it yet, but it sure seems nuts. It's also apparently like 4 Pink Gears worth of game, like 4 hours to Pink Gears 1, which tracks since it's 3 discs bigger. Maybe someday we'll see what that one's all about. Until then, let's just pray Scum VM gets this game running.